Hello, I'm Eric Snodgrass, and thank you for watching today's Ag Forecast, brought to you by Agrible, your premier platform for real-time global insights. I want to show you a couple of my favorite videos I saw in the day on Sunday from the blizzard that stretched through parts of Kansas and parts of Nebraska, Iowa, Missouri, Illinois, southern Wisconsin. Here's one from the National Weather Service out of the Quad Cities launching its weather balloon. I'm proud of these folks getting out there and doing this because we need that information to help guide our models and to give us an idea about what the weather's going to continue to do. I've done this many times, by the way. It's a lot of fun to launch these balloons in adverse weather. But talking about adverse weather, take a look at this video at the bottom provided here by Trooper Todd, part of the Kansas Highway Patrol here, just showing what those blizzard conditions look like through parts of Kansas. And Kansas took an absolute beating with this system. Now, as this system progressed, look at the animation over here on the right. This deepening of this low pressure system, especially there across parts of Illinois, produced a very pronounced dry slot. And what's interesting about that is what it did across the state of Illinois. We had a series of thunderstorms move from Missouri into St. Louis and eventually into southern Illinois here, one of which produced a tornado warning north of St. Louis. And that was only 50 miles, that tornado warning, only 50 miles away from the nearest blizzard warning. That's how dynamic these systems are. Interesting to also point out that in parts of northwestern Illinois, parts of Iowa and Missouri, we actually had thunder snow. This is where we can get convective, that's rapidly rising air in the middle of these major snow bands, giving you incredibly heavy snow, but also the charge separation we need in the clouds to give us some lightning. So a lot of thunder snow in parts of northwestern Illinois, again, near the Quad Cities with this system. So this is how it all set up. And what we have to talk about is where is it going? So let me animate for you what our high resolution NAM model is picking up on for early Monday morning. So the center of circulation is now moved into parts of Ohio. And on the back side of this, through parts of Michigan, northern Indiana, into Illinois, we're still bringing in some snow. It will also be extremely windy on the backside of this. We'll see in just a few minutes. Well, throughout the day on Monday, the system continues to push on off to the north and east. We'll have snow squalls and some snow showers through parts of Michigan, then getting into Indiana and Ohio, and maintaining throughout much of the day in Ohio, West Virginia. Also, Kentucky and Tennessee could get a load of this as well. By the time we get into the day on Tuesday and the system lifts all the way into the northeast, the strong northwesterly flow on the backside will bring some lake effect snow through parts of Wisconsin, but also really into parts of Michigan and then over the eastern Great Lakes with time. Now, once we get beyond this first system, let's notice a couple other things going on. First, through this entire time period, we have some strong onshore flow out west. So a lot of rain through parts of Oregon, Washington, and Northern California with snow on the higher elevations, especially there in parts of Idaho and Montana. But pay attention to the north central plains throughout the day on Tuesday. So this is Tuesday evening getting to early Wednesday morning. We have a warm front progressing through this area, bringing in the chance in the overnight hours on Tuesday into Wednesday morning for some sleet and ice pellets and possibly even some snow there in parts of North and South Dakota. So we're going to have to watch that as well. But I want to show you how windy things are going to be in the day on Monday. So if I let this go through and get you to about 10 a.m. on Monday, we have still got winds tucked away on the back side of this system that will be 20 to 30 miles an hour, stretching through much of the eastern part of the Corn Belt here. But as this system progresses to the north and east, winds do settle down by the time we get into Tuesday and then really settle down by the time we get into Wednesday. But certainly going to stay windy here in the far eastern part of the Corn Belt throughout Tuesday into even Wednesday morning. So some very windy conditions with this. On the back side of the system, we're going to be bringing in some very cold air. Check this out. What I'm going to show you is a 24-hour temperature change map. So this is valid 8 p.m. on Monday. This is showing you the difference between the temperatures at 8 p.m. on Monday and 8 p.m. on Sunday, the day before. And in some sections, right here in the lower and mid-Mississippi River Valley and also the Ohio River Valley, we're talking about a temperature change of 20 to 30 degrees Fahrenheit. And you're going to see that progress toward the east as we get through the day on Tuesday into Wednesday. But look at the warm-up we're going to be seeing here in the center part of the country. And I want to talk about this pretty wild temperature ride that we're going to be on here over the next several days. So here we go. Let's dig into it by assessing what the pattern of the jet stream is going to be. So troughs and ridges. Here's the deep trough that's creating the low that went through creating the blizzard conditions, moving on off to the north and east. So I'm just going to start you off here. By the time we get to midweek, this is Wednesday morning. At that point, you see the trough here off in the east. You see a little bit of ridging back in the middle part of the country. So that's the warm up we're going to be seeing here. But I want you to pay attention to this first little shortwave that I'm kind of highlighting right here as we progress through the end of the week. So by the time I get you into Thursday, that little shortwave right there will help it'll also be fed on some warm, moist air from the Gulf of Mexico, bringing in the chance for precipitation here in the middle part of the country where I'm circling. Meanwhile, a deep trough digs in out west, keeping strong onshore flow and a lot of precipitation in the western states. So this is now Wednesday at noon. By the time I get you into Thursday evening into Friday morning, look at the deep trough that comes digging in here into the Four Corners and then eventually into Texas. This is a negatively tilted trough just like this. So out ahead of it, a lot of warm, moist air being advected or moved out of the Gulf of Mexico, and a low pressure system will develop right here. And because of the tilt on this trough, it will lift very quickly toward the north and east. And that's a major difference between this upcoming system at the end of this week, really by the time we get into Friday, from the system that just went through on Sunday. The trajectory, this one's got more of a southwest to northeast flow to it. And there's a lot of important kind of things to be looking at because of that, but let's watch it first. So see it there? Trough digs in and pushes right to the Great Lakes just like that, such that over the weekend, this system that plows through lifts rather than digs. And that's an important thing to talk about. We'll see what that means in a few moments here. Trough swings in behind it, cold air behind this next system, but by the time I get you out to about the 5th and 6th of the month of December, we end up developing this high over low pattern in the Gulf of Alaska. So you can see the ridge developing right in through here with the trough sitting in this area. So we'll have to see what that means for temperatures, not only in the western United States, but out here in the eastern part of the country as well as we begin the month of December. So we're going to get there in a few minutes, but let's first of all take a look at what this pattern means in terms of precipitation. So I'm going to get you past the system we've already diagnosed. Let's get right on into middle of the day on Wednesday. So Wednesday morning, this is the time period that we're watching for the potential for some ice pellets mixed in with some snow here across the northern plains. Beyond that, little shortwave trough moves through parts of Montana, then gets into the central United States by the time I get into Wednesday. Now, due to the presence of higher atmospheric pressure here, we're going to feed some moisture into this. And as that little trough digs in there, you can see that by Thursday evening, getting into Friday morning, we're bringing in the next chance of showers into parts of Arkansas, getting into Tennessee, Kentucky, then into Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio, with snow up in parts of Wisconsin and Michigan. So that is, I guess we call that system number 2 this week. But the real player is right out here coming through parts of California. This is where that deep upper level trough kind of slants through just like this. And by the time we get into the day on Friday and then into the day on Saturday, that's when the system really gets going. So this is now late Friday night into early Saturday morning. Now, what have we got here? Well, what we've got is that trough helping giving the upper level support for the development of a low here in parts of Oklahoma. And the flow out around it's going to be just like this, and the system's going to rapidly lift toward the Great Lakes, which means our greatest snow threat is going to be on this side of the low. So again, parts of Kansas, but certainly parts of South Dakota, Nebraska, Iowa, Minnesota, Wisconsin will be on the lookout for some snow. Let's watch this. Here's Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening, getting you through early Sunday morning. Do you see the system lift straight there to the northeast? Let me rock it back and forth again. So this is a rain event for the eastern Corn Belt and a snow event for the western Corn Belt. And so we've got more rough weather coming for the center part of the country. So that's the next 2 systems we've got to be on the lookout for as we progress here into the month of December. Now, beyond that, let me show you what the pattern's going to do. So the first map you see over here is valid for December the 5th. We're looking at the 10-day forecast. At this point, we have a ridge in the Gulf of Alaska that allows a deep plunging trough over the eastern half of the country. We even have this little cutoff feature we're expecting to see here, setting us up for a high over a low pattern in the Gulf of Alaska. Now, what will be interesting to watch will be to see if this trough here can become established as the model suggests it will by the time we get you out to the 10th of December. So this is the 15-day forecast. If this sets up and the position of this trough is accurately represented by the long-range European model, this will allow for some warmth building here, kind of stretching from the Mississippi toward the west. This will also continue to give us some strong onshore flow and wet conditions for the west coast. Now, if this trough is any farther to the west than currently forecast, expect for the eastern third of the country to not get out of its cold pattern at all. But if it goes east, if this trough is east, then expect the warmth where I draw this W to progress to the east. We got a tricky forecast coming up in the middle part of December. We're just going to have to watch it very, very closely here. Let me show you how temperatures are going to respond to this. So this is an animation of the European model ensemble looking at temperatures. Here we are getting you through middle of the day on Wednesday. Now when you look at this, you can see the colder air is tucked away in that trough that's over the east. But you can see also the cooler pattern right into there. This is the snow on the ground cooling the lower levels of the atmosphere. And as I progress forward, warmer air starts to arrive, warmer than average, starts to arrive in the north central plains. But it's going to take some time to warm up that part of Kansas, Nebraska, Missouri, Iowa, Illinois, Wisconsin due to the snowpack. But this is Thursday getting into Friday. And here comes our next system. Look at that. This is Saturday morning. So the trough is dug in through here, warm moisture out ahead of this, and that's why we're going to see temperatures becoming much, much warmer than average. They're pushing through parts of Louisiana into Missouri. Now that is out ahead of the next system, and here goes the next system lifting on off to the north. There it is. And as it does so, look at the trough digging in out west. So this is now the 4th and 5th of December. So we're way out here, 10 days out in our forecast. Now remember, at this point we're watching for the trough to develop in the Gulf of Alaska. And if it does, just as the models are forecasting, watch the cool air slide east and the warmth rebounding there by the 8th, 9th, and 10th of December in the middle part of the country. So this will be the setup. We'll have to just see how highly amplified this pattern becomes by the time we get here into the 10th of December. A lot of uncertainty moving forward, but this is at least what we're picking up on right now. I'd say certainly cooler risks for the Northeast, with the chance we're bringing in some warmer conditions in the middle part of the country as we progress through the month of December. All right, to talk to you at the end of this video about South America, I'm going to give you the update here on Argentina. See, Argentina has been the more volatile region. We've had some major precipitation events near Santa Fe, which is in this area right over here, major soybean producing area. But moving toward Rosario and then again over toward Cordoba, we've seen big precipitation events in Argentina's major soybean producing areas here that have helped erode some of the drought issues that have been long-standing, getting us through the end of last season. But with all of these big rainfall events, remember a lot of this is going to run off and a lot of this is going to cause some headaches as they continue to plant this crop. So while the precipitation is coming in here, it tends to be coming in these major thunderstorm type events, which means not the steady rain, which I think they'd like to be getting this time of year. This is very much like a springtime weather pattern for the central United States. And just to show you what's going on in Brazil, just to kind of tell you, September 1st and November 20th, we can see that almost all of Brazil's major growing regions have been wetter than average. And over the next 15 days, we're certainly picking up on the wetter pattern in northern Brazil. I'm going to talk with you about why that is. See, one of the oscillations we watch across the tropical oceans of the world here is this thing called the MJO, the Madden-Julian Oscillation. And we see that it's getting more highly amplified moving through phases 7, 8, 1, 2, and 3. Now, what does that mean? Well, as we progress through the next 15 days represented in the top part of this graph, we have some strong upper level support, which means a lot of convection, and this helps the Brazilian monsoon continue to bring a lot of rain here. But you can see that we will be, as we look at this 40-day forecast, moving through the middle of December toward the beginning of January, possibly moving into a pattern that is less favorable for upper level support for the development of the monsoons. We could be wet to start the month of December and then drier toward the middle and end of December throughout much of Brazil's major growing regions. But given the amount of moisture that's currently in the soil and how wet it's going to be over the next 10 to 15 days, the question to be answered is this drier pattern even going to make much of a difference? I think the bigger question is, does it have some longevity to it such that it stays dry as we move into the month of January? We'll be watching it for you here, giving you these crucial updates twice a week on the longer range forecast coming out of Brazil. But with that, I'm going to go and wrap up this forecast video. We hope you look forward to Agrible's next ag forecast coming out on Thursday morning. In the meantime, head to agrible.com to learn how you can get real-time agronomic and sustainability insights all at the touch of a button. Look forward to talking again midweek.